Welcome back to the channel. Of course, this is Life with Nessa and I'm Nessa. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. And let's get you caught up to speed before we get into it. So I think a lot of you would have been here from my video where I got a work from home job without having a degree, and then some of you would have seen where I got fired from that job. Now the one where I got the job has gone like, it's greater, has a greater viewership than the one that said that I lost the job, which nevertheless. So here we are now. I have decided to do full-time freelancing. And so one of the first things that I've done is that I've gotten some cold calling gigs to do. How did I get these gigs? Now, like immediately after I posted the last video telling you guys what happened, that I got fired or whatever, Lakeisha, y'all know I talk about Lakeisha all the time, she sent me a message and she was like, hey, how's Fiverr going? Do you have some availability? I need some help with these calls. And of course, your girl is not going to turn down an opportunity. Cool. If I'm going to do freelancing full time, it means that I'm going to have to step out of my comfort zone and do new things. Now, initially on Fiverr, I do have a calling gig, but it hasn't really gotten that much traction. It's more like my bookkeeping gig. I have one where I build spreadsheets for small business owners, freelancers, just to kind of track your income and expenses, which helps you if you don't want to use a software like QuickBooks or Xero or one of them. So this kind of helps you to see what your expenses are, how you've been doing in terms of sales, and so you can see what's going on. I build those spreadsheets for you depending on what it is that you want. They're pretty basic, pretty simple, because a lot of people, you don't want anything complicated to make the stress of tracking your finances any worse. So those are the ones that I've been really getting traction on. And I have one where I listen to people's problems and give them non-judgmental advice. That one has gotten a lot of traction in terms of like clicks and coming up in the searches on Fiverr, because Fiverr, like most other platforms, uses an algorithm. And so those are the ones that we're really pushing forward. So when Lakeisha gave me the opportunity to help her with the calls, of course I'm thinking, sure, let's go. Never did cold calling before. So it's not like, some of you might have like call center experience where you're used to talking to people on the phone, used to a certain approach. I didn't have all of that, but your girl is not going to turn down an opportunity. So first of all, what is cold calling? So cold calling is when you are basically approaching businesses or individuals to offer them a service or a product. These people would never have had like contact or communication with the business that you're doing the cold calling for before. So in the cold call, you're usually introducing the business or making a proposal of services or goods or whatever to these prospective buyers. And what most businesses will do is that they'll give you a script that they want you to follow. Some people might ask you to write your own script, just tell you what it is that they want, and you can write the own script if that's something you want to offer as a part of your gig service. But a lot of people just come with their own script and they'll give it to you. So they tell you like what the intro should be, how you should go about the proposal, and so on and so forth. If the prospect says yes, what to do next. If the prospect says no, also what to do next. And so yeah, so it's basically you're making approach to prospective customers on behalf of these businesses, and you're selling it, or you have to sell it as best as you can. A lot of people may not like cold calling because the reality is people can be rude, people will hang up the phone, people will, say stuff to you just like, my guy. And that was something that I thought about going into it, but from get-go, I was just like, let's not get my feelings into this. Let's not talk. Let's not think about it. Because reality is, it's not my business. Cool. So even if these people don't want to buy the service, they don't want to partake of the goods that I'm trying to promote or I'm trying to get them to buy, personally, it's not affecting me because I'm doing a job. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to do my best, but at the same time, it's not like I'm putting my Fiverr gig out there. I'm putting my book out there, which I'm trying to finish, by the way. Or I'm putting the video out there, and it's not getting the traction, or people are saying, hey, I don't like this, I don't want this, da da da. So I try not to put my feelings into it. And that's one of the things that Lakeisha also said to me: girl, take your feelings out of it. We're getting a job done. Just do what it is that you're supposed to do, and let's just get it out of the way. So yeah, rejection is a part of it, but as I said, I just tried to take my feelings out of it. And so I think the first gig she gave me was 100 calls. Now your girl, in all of my work life, I didn't really do a lot of calling, a lot of talking on the phone, because I worked in an auditing firms, I was doing accounting work and so on and so forth. And to be honest, I really had gotten comfortable in that space. But again, it's a challenge. I'm doing freelancing full time. I'm gonna do whatever the masses require, whatever my marketplace requires. That's what I'm going to do. Not that I'm going to do anything that I'm not good at or try to offer substandard services, but this is something that people obviously want, and if I can do it and I can do well at it, then let's go. Alright, so did that. Of course there was rejection. Of course there was rejection. To be honest, I think the first set of calls I did, I was offering a service for a business. And so I got the script, and I remember the first call I made, like I read through the script, and halfway through, person just lied and ended the call. And I was just, but again, no feelings. So what I did, I kind of looked at it, thought about what would make people want to talk to me, or not necessarily talk to me, but hear me out. Because what we're doing is you're calling somebody in the middle of their day, not knowing what's happening with them, what's going on, and then you're trying to get them, in spite of everything that's happening around them, what they're doing, what's going on with them, to hear you out and to potentially want to partake or to patronize your business, to buy your goods, right? So I thought to myself, and so I read the script and tried to tweak it a bit, I think, to what would get like a greater time of somebody hearing me out. And I believe it worked. I ended up having to, we actually increased it from 100 to I think 200, and in that, I mean, it wasn't as successful as maybe the customer, the client would have liked it to be, but there were like leads and people were interested and so on and so forth. Fast forward, I'm doing other calls and I'm doing other calls. One of the calls that I did, it was for like a note seller. Well, yeah. So somebody wanted to buy people's mortgage notes, because you know that's something that happens in America. So people buy people's mortgage notes. And I'm going through and it's not going well because a lot of people are upset, they're hanging up and da da da. But I'm pressing through again, trying to not put my feelings in there. And so I spoke to two of the people who stood out to me on that call, and I think I was 200 as well, were Jamaica. And I believe he's Russian. Based on his name and his accent, he sounded Russian. The Jamaican was upset. Listen, this man had been getting calls, and some of the times I'm not sure where the leads come from, because also in addition to giving you the script, the businesses will give you their lead list or their lead sheet, right? Now, if you heard about lead sheet in the Jamaican context, something similar, potential customers on a piece of paper with their contact information, yes. However, for legal activities, good. So these lead sheets are generated by other freelancers or wherever you go and you get your lead sheets. People actually sell lead sheets, so they purchase these lead sheets based on whatever criteria they're looking for. And then so you have these contact information, name, primary contact, secondary contact, depending on what you're offering. If you're offering one call, if you're offering two calls, whatever. And so you have to call these people. What I noticed, especially with that lead sheet, is that so I'll be like, hi, may I speak to Mr. John Brown? And the person will be like, this is not Mr. John Brown. Stop calling this number. This is not Mr. John Brown. Which tells me that their name has come up in multiple lists and they're getting called by multiple callers and they're upset. This is the same thing with the Jamaican gentleman. He was big mad. Why? The name was incorrect. So I don't know what his correct name was, but the name on the list was not him. Two, he was not telling anything, so he didn't have any note to sell, and he was just upset. He was like, I told you people to stop calling my phone. Now I'm apologizing profusely, and one thing that I do is, and I think I'm doing it now, hopefully, I don't know, I don't talk in my general Jamaican accent, right? So the way that I would talk to a Jamaican or anybody else, I'm not doing that. Why? I don't want to immediately raise red flags in people's head or to get them to not want to listen to me. Especially the fact that I'm selling a good or service. This is the first time you're hearing about this business, from this business. You don't want a weird accent or an unfamiliar, let me not say weird, an unfamiliar accent to be the first thing that you hear. So I try to, the people in the call center, you would hear them talk like that all the time, and you'd probably say in Jamaican context to say them a twang. It's just easier to get your job done that way. And so he's upset, and he's just like, I told you people to stop calling the phone and da da da. But based on his accent, I know that this is Jamaican. But I am staying in character, right? I'm just like, I'm so sorry. I want to apologize. I'm not sure how my team got you on the list. I'm going to ask them to remove you. And I'm calling him by the name that's on the list. And he's like, listen, that's not my name. That's not my name. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I want to apologize. I'm so sorry for the inconvenience today. Please go ahead and have yourself a good day, and I'm going to ask my team to just remove you from our list and any future list that we may generate. And he's just like, whatever, and hung up the phone. Now, afterwards, I was saying to a friend of mine, I should have gone in my Jamaican accent and said, sir, relax. But on second thought, I'm glad that I maintained my posture, because me know for a fact, say some good, my mother, my father, my uncle, my auntie, and all of the material them done by pings, this man would have tell me, because not only now are you changing your accent, you is trying to scam me. Is that what you're trying to do? So yeah, I kept my composure, maintained the accent that I was using at the time, and he got off the phone. When I called the Russian gentleman, normally people are just like, hello, this is Bob, or hello, this is whatever. He was just like, I don't want to imitate the Russian accent because I don't think I have it down. But he was just like, how much do you want to buy my house for today? And I was caught off guard, because I guess I'm going through the motion and I'm doing it over and over. It's just like, what the responses are likely to be, how people are going to answer the phone, what you're going to say. If they do say yes, how you're going to follow that up. And so I have that rotating in my head, but this one caught me off guard because nobody answered the phone like that, nor did I expect them to answer the phone like that. And I said it to him. I said, you actually caught me off guard. And he was like, he gets like 70 of these calls a day, so he's not surprised. And we ended up having a little conversation, and he was telling of real estate. He's a realtor, so he's not interested. But he did compliment me. He was like, oh, you have a nice voice. And I felt like girl was doing the do. Yeah, but outside of that, I've spoken to some really nice people, some people who are really genuinely nice people, and then there are some that are just mean. They are just mean. And again, rejection is something that happens in cold calling, but you can't take it serious. You can't take it personal, because they're not rejecting you. It's not like they're rejecting you. They're rejecting what you're saying. They're being rude, but it's not you. It's what you're saying or what you're presenting. And especially in the context where this might happen multiple times a day, people get annoyed, people get, frustrated, overwhelmed with the fact that this keeps happening, and they're just over it. So you have to bear that in mind. Would I continue on the path of doing cold calling? Yes, man. I'm trying to pay some bills. Your girl is going to do what your girl needs to do. Ideally, I do prefer like behind the scenes gigs where I don't necessarily have to talk to people, but I get the work done, and I'll just talk to the client on a here and there basis to check in, to kind of see what they desire, to kind of give them updates, preliminary looks at whatever projects I'm working on. As I tell you that I build spreadsheets for freelancers and small business owners, is what the gig is geared towards on Fiverr. So those I prefer because I don't have to speak to people. But what I do, or what I've been doing so far, because this is new territory for me, is to just give myself a little pep talk. Girl, you need to get this done. It's not that serious. Yes, I know it's out of your element. I know it's out of your comfort zone. And then I try to have the approach in my head, my demeanor, how I want to come off. If it is that I get like a few bad calls in terms of how people are responding to what I'm saying, then I stop and I say, okay, how can we make it so you're heard? you can probably get a better, response from your perspectives or prospects. And so I do that, and it kind of makes the process a little bit easier. I also do have people who work in the call center industry as friends. So I'll say, hey, and I'll ask them for advice, how they think I should approach a thing, or what they think I can change, and they'll help me. So that makes it a little bit easier as well. So rejection is sure, but it's not something that you should take personal. And I think if you want to do cold calling, it's something that you can do. The service is actually, there is a requirement for it, there's a market for it. It's just how you're going to put yourself out there so people can see you and people can request your gig. Things to note: you are required to write notes about the calls, especially when they're like large volumes, like 100, 200. So they will have the information that they require, which is like, are they interested, da da da. They'll have their different requirements, but you're asked normally to give call notes. What happened on the call? What did the person say? How did the person respond? If they hung up, whatever the case, did you get them? How many times did you call? And you can be as thorough as you would like. Not everything you need to involve, obviously, but you can be as thorough as you would like. And I think that's the better approach. At least that's what I see Lakeisha doing. And she's a seasoned freelancer, so we're gonna take her advice. Just be as thorough as you can be, so the client can get a vivid picture of what exactly is happening. So if they need to go back to the drawing board and adjust their script, or they need to get a new lead sheet, or what they need to do, they can do that based on the response that you are recording that you're getting. So it's important for you to pay attention to what's happening on the call, note important things, and to write that down. You can also make recommendations to the client if that's something that you see where they could adjust something. You can say, hey, I think da da da, and based on the client, they can accept and they can decide to go forward with your opinion, or they can continue on the route, as long as you're getting your job done and meeting your time frame, because you're the one giving them the time frame within which you can finish your calls. Give realistic deadlines and make sure that you're hitting those deadlines. A lot of people use like Google Sheets. So as soon as you're updating it, they can go in and they can see where you're at and what you're recording, what's happening, so on and so forth on the calls. And that's important because people want to know what's happening. For like smaller volumes of calls, say like a 5 or a 10, they might ask you to record each call so they can hear it. So they can hear that you're delivering the script, what the response of the prospect is, or whatever. Now in those cases, as I told you, for the volumes that I was doing, I kind of tweaked the scripts a bit to get people more engaged or more willing to hear me out, more willing, just not be as rude or as nasty as they probably would have been if I'd used the script exactly as I got it. But that's only because this is a large volume of call and they're not expecting for you to record every call for them to listen to it. That's not what they're about. They're more about the call notes and results. Cool, so I can write in the call notes what happened without mentioning that I may have tweaked the script. Good. But in a smaller volume of calls, like a 5, a 7, a 10, you want to stick to the script. So if they say, hello, I am a dog, my name is Roy, see my book here, you say exactly that, because the client is looking to hear that you're following their instructions, and that's important. So just deliver the script as you've gotten it. If the person hangs up, that's on them. You have evidence to say, I was saying what you said I was supposed to say, and this is the response that I got. And so for smaller volumes of call, it's not unlikely for them to say, hey, can you record these calls so I can hear them, so I can listen to them? And this will kind of happen when people are just starting to work with you, as I've noticed. People are just starting to work with you, so they want to know what your phone presence is like, your demeanor. Are you polite? What's your tonality? How is your accent? Because we are Caribbean people, and so we have a thicker accent than someone from North America, someone from anywhere else in the world. And so they might want to see how you're delivering, how the delivery of the script, what's that like? Is it enthusiastic? Are you just reading, obviously? And somebody can be like, oh my God, this person is really just reading from a script. This isn't even genuine. Or are you putting your back into it? Yeah, so for smaller volume of calls, it's not unlikely for people to ask you to record it so they can hear it back, and then that would determine whether or not they want to work with you. So my advice is, if you're going to do smaller volumes, to stick to the script, don't tweak it in any way. Make sure that you are following exactly what the client wants so they can hear that, and it can make them more comfortable with you, and you can build a relationship and probably get more orders going further or in the future. Anything else? Cold calling is something that if you thought about it, I hear people say, I don't want nobody yell at me, or I don't like rejection, or da da da. As I said, just take your feelings out of it. It's not that serious. It's not your personal product. You're not selling yourself. You sold yourself to the client. Now the client is asking you to sell something. I'm not saying don't give your all, but at the same time, don't take it personally for the reasons that I explained before. And I think if it is that you need extra money and you have a headset, you have a computer, what do I use to make my calls? I use Skype. I personally use Skype. There are other apps that you can use, like Second Line. There used to be one called Text Now. It's been giving a little bit of problems for Caribbean people, and this is happening because there are the illegal activities. I'm just going to call it what it is. It may seem to like the average man that money are running into the society and the youth them get a bus and da da da, but it's affecting legitimate business people who are trying to make an honest bread. It is affecting us, and hopefully it doesn't get worse where we're kind of being streamlined out of these apps and it's affecting our ability to deliver on our calls. But yes, I use Skype. I had to purchase a plan, a North American plan. It cost me like $3, I think, for the month, and I had to buy a number. Reason I didn't have a number before, so I bought the plan initially. I wasn't using a number. I was just using Skype as is because it does allow you to do that. But then I called this one person. He was upset. He was like, how can I do, I think he was Italian, how can I do business with you? I can't even see your number. And I was just like, So I thought about it. I just went ahead and purchased the number. So I have that number. It does have a particular area code, which can become like not necessarily problematic, but people ask if, because I've made calls outside of the area code that the number belongs to, people ask me, I see you're calling from here, da da da. Why are you calling from here when our business or whatever is in another place? And I'll just have to tell them something. That's where I'm living right now, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, or that part that woman said that's where I'm living right now. Or I'll just say I'm outside of the state. Because to be honest, I don't want to lie. I don't think I should. Cool. So, and I am outside of the state. That's not a lie. So, yeah, you will need an American number, a plan, an app to use to get your calls done, a headset, and as I've said before, a laptop. Or you can make Skype calls from your phone, but in terms of recording notes, you're going to need a device. So a laptop, a tablet to record what the call notes are. If you can sit down and type that out on your phone, if you want to write them down and then go type them on your phone, fine. But for ease and comfort, I think a laptop or a tablet would be a better way to get it done. A tablet with a keypad would be a better way to get it done. So I'm not gonna say that it's my favorite thing to do, cold calling, but it's valuable experience. And I think when you can add that to your resume, a friend of mine once told me that education is not lost. Education is never a waste. So this is a part of my growing and my building myself as I go on this freelancing journey. And of course, I appreciate it. I'm always grateful for Lakeisha. Maybe one day I can get her to come, and well, not come, but we can do like a virtual interview and you guys can actually see who the beautiful Lakeisha is. We can talk to her. So some of you who might be thinking, freelancing full time, it's very possible. There are people who are doing it outside of Lakeisha. I talk about her all the time, but there are people who are doing it outside of her. People who are killing it. That's their full time income, and they're fine. They are fine. So it can be done. I'm in the stages where I'm trying to build my platform and trying to see how best I can become one of those people. And y'all know you're following me on the journey. So this is just me doing cold calls for the last 2-3 weeks. Whenever it is that I drop the last video, because I'm trying to be consistent, but your girl. So whenever it was that I dropped the last video, I've been doing cold calls up until today. Today is Good Friday. Yes, and I did some cold calls earlier today. Started at 9, ended at 5, like a regular job. And the only reason why I ended at 5 was because the businesses that I was calling, they closed at 5, so it wouldn't have been made any sense for me to call after 5. But there have been cases where the businesses are open after 5, or they open later in the day. So I would start later in the day, go up to as far as I can, or as long as the businesses are open, just to get it done. So your timing varies based on time zone and the type of businesses and stuff like that. But cold calling is very doable. But if it's not for you, understand. And that's okay. But this is just my experience, and I hope somebody hearing this would, take it into consideration. If you haven't set up a Fiverr profile as yet, you're sleeping on Fiverr. Please don't sleep on Fiverr. Please don't sleep on Fiverr. There is potential for money to be made freelancing on Fiverr. You might hear stories of scamming and whatever. Yes, there are people on there who they can get your profile banned or whatever, but based on what they're doing or how you respond. But if you learn it the proper way, you can make money on Fiverr. I'm looking at people doing it. I'm doing it. Maybe not on the scale that I would want to yet, but I'm growing and